Hello, people. How's it going? I am Macy Satantio, and I'm the person moderating this account and doing all the interviews. And I've got a special guest today, the polite kitty, Audra. Audra is a storyteller, a parent, and also someone who is very active on social media, on Facebook. That's how we got connected. So the polite kitty is going to join us. And hello.
Hello, can you hear
I
me?
can hear you.
Yay!
I see that you're a Seattle Seahawk fan, and I'm a 49er fan.
Oh, I'm okay. So great news. I'm actually a 49ers fan.
No
Yes,
way, really?
I just wear the Seahawks fan to represent my hometown.
Okay. Well, that's certainly good news.
No,
So,
but go 49ers.
that's sweet. Well, welcome. Thank you so much for being here with,
Yeah.
all of our followers and audience. So tell us about you, what you do.
I'm actually a full-time performer, so I pretty much do anything in entertainment. I'm an actor, a producer. I do sometimes hosting. I'm actually the director of an improv virtual team and in-person team.
Wow.
I'm a comedian, a storyteller, and I also run ghost hunting tours where we talk about history of downtown Seattle and some of the more haunted places in
Well,
downtown.
I love that. That's my genre. Yeah, horror, just anything scary is totally my genre. So, so I didn't know. I know in San Francisco we do have ghost tour. I think that's New Orleans. I didn't know that Seattle also has these kind of historic places and homes. That's so cool. That gives me a reason to come and visit Seattle and do one of your tours.
Yes, come out here. We'd have so many like old places here, and there is a lot of haunting and a lot of haunted stuff out here because we have the whole underground city, from the fire.
Yes, that's right. So, when you say you're a full-time performer, does that involve a lot of traveling?
Oh boy. So it can involve traveling. I actually just got back from New York City.
Mm-hmm.
I was invited to do a show out there called Comics Around Comics. And the producer is very nice. So yeah, so sometimes I'll go and travel to other places, if there's shows or if you have to do, so because I do acting as well. So you have to maybe film on set somewhere else. Sure.
Okay. And were you a funny kid? Like, I mean, this whole thing about being funny, like I just don't get any jokes or memes or, it's very hard for me. So I've always wondered when I talk to autistic people who love to just perform and, or autistic comedians, like, what do you have to do? Yeah, like your temperament, personality. Have you always wanted to do this?
No, honestly, I was that shy, like rarely spoke or said anything as a kid. I, I mean, I was funny as a kid. I was very sarcastic, I guess, and the few words that I would speak were very articulate and well spoken. um,
Right.
but I was always afraid to say stuff. And so the fact that I'm doing this now is the complete opposite of who I
Mm-hmm.
was when I was younger. And I think it speaks to, being comfortable I think being comfortable and being in the right environment,
Mm-hmm.
because, you spend your whole life masking.
Mm-hmm.
And then I decided to unmask in my mid 30s. And then all of a sudden I became my authentic self. And now here I am thriving in an environment that I love. So,
Yeah. So Here's a question for you. When you are performing, you're on stage, you do have full control of like what comes out of your mouth and the story that you tell. And I'm reading your notes here that you tell stories about your life experiences as an autistic, disabled super parent with epilepsy, raising kids, hyperfixations, dysfunctional family run. That sounds like a lot of fun. So does it have some like, does it have anything to do with you alone and you don't necessarily see the faces because they're over there and you're on the spotlight? Does it have, I mean, plus this is kind of like your passion. So I'm just wondering if there's that similarity. Like I love doing presentations because I get to talk about autism communication, which is my special interest. But that's different than a conversation.
Right. So it's definitely for me a performance. I know a lot of comedians get up there and for them it has to be a conversation, just them telling jokes, setting it up, you know, and then the punchline, and that's how they run. But for me it does have to be a performance because it is scripted. I love writing. I've been writing since I was a kid. Again, remember those inner thoughts and being very shy. Everything got written down, and I practiced my stories. I practice my jokes and my punchlines, which are told through my stories. And I think the one thing that I do work on, and I have to work on all the time, especially as an autistic person, is being present in the moment. Because while my stories can be told and all of that is scripted and I have stage presence, I have to be ready for, like you said, that audience that is looking at me. They may not react the same way. I may get comments that are different. And so I have to be ready for that.
That sounds so scary. Like I can't even get distracted. If I'm doing a Zoom presentation and there's a ding, that's it. That's the end of it. It's like how do you do you know, the variables that are unexpected while you're on stage, you know, people yelling something, like how do you do that? Would cause me to have a panic attack.
Right. So I did it first. I used to have panic attacks all the time. So my coaches and because I had comedy coaches, I still do, and acting coaches. And and I'm sure other autistic comedians are going to laugh when they hear this, because you actually script and plan for the unplanned. So I will run through scenarios in my head of, okay, so here's my joke. Here's what could possibly happen. Here's what could be said. And here's what my responses could be in the moment. So while I do have improvisational skills and I'm very good at it, I'm also got 10 jokes lined up for the 10 possible scenarios that could happen. I also know going into certain situations, if I'm at a bar, I expect drinks, I expect lights, I expect people to be talking and not listening. So I will also plan for that stuff.
Wow. I didn't know that's how performers do it. I thought it's just I thought you just have to have thick skin.
No.
Just go with the
we go home and we cry.
Oh, really?
And we think about that one person who wasn't laughing.
Oh my gosh.
No, we are very sensitive people.
Right. Well, you and does this also mean that you have to have a good memory? You know how people always say, oh, autistic people have great memory. Not me, but the fact that you can memorize the script and backup plans, that's like incredible. That's
what I call my superpower. I mean, like it's something I was able to do as a kid, and I've been able to do it as an adult. When I used to work like the typical corporate America 9-to-5 jobs, my bosses would always laugh at me and say, how are you able to memorize people's voices and their background stories? And everything about them. And I said, I don't know. It's just, it's natural.
It's natural
And
for
so
you, right?
it's natural for me. So I was able to take it into, you know, just memorizing a script. And once I get the cadence down and a rhythm, ooh, it's very easy.
Yeah. Well, that's great. So you've been doing this for a while. So when you look back as an aspiring autistic performer, what are the biggest difference then to Audra on stage now?
I was never, okay, so here's the story of the performer, because I never was an aspiring performer. I was a mental health therapist, and that was my life. I ended up getting healthier and just kind of started to feel better overall. One of my favorite all-time bands from back when I was a teenager, it's a ska jazz band. They happen to and they asked if I wanted to be part of their like background, and I was like, all right, you know. I was very scared, and for some reason that day, it was the first time I'd ever been on camera, ever been on anything, and that was it. It clicked. And from then on, and that was February of 2020, and ever since then, I got hooked. I've been hustling ever since to get on camera.
That's amazing. So I think you come to life when you are under the light. You're under the spotlight. I think that's really incredible. Now, I know a lot of aspiring autistic writers, fan fiction, fan art creators, which is incredible because they may not be able to have conversations like this, you know, but you read what they write. It's really incredible. And I understand how people say autistic writers make really good screenwriters. Yeah. So do you write for every single performance, or what do you do with your written scripts?
So I'm a little old school. I actually have a notebook that I carry with me everywhere, and I write every day continually. I don't care what it is, if it's just writing about my environment, but I always write. And everything gets in that notebook, then gets taken out onto my computer if I feel it's worth going forward. And then I put it into my own set list. I never fully write everything down because, again, it's memorized in my head. Hate to say it like that, but it is. But yes, I 100% write everything that I do. Even sketches that I have come up with, those any sketch that is by me, I write 100%. There are sketches that I am a part of where I do the acting, but those are part of Oddly Funny Productions. Hi, Aaron, if you're watching. And we as a team work on those together.
Is it easier to perform by yourself or with other people?
I don't know. I mean, if it's my stuff, it's easier for me to perform just me because I'm so critical of myself, right? Like, so I know exactly what I need to do to fix something. But I love working with others because when you get together with other comedians and you're working on sketches, I mean, it is hysterical when we all laugh and work together.
Yeah, it's very spontaneous in the moment kind of thing, right? You gotta just roll with it.
Yeah.
So I want to ask the people who are here, if you have any questions right now for Audra, please write it in the comments. If you wait until the end, then we may not have time to answer them. So just start now. I want to ask you, Audra, about being a disabled performer, autistic disabled performer. What are some of the barriers, if you have any, whether it's like sensory challenges, travel, or, what are some of the challenges?
Yeah, definitely travel is one because I don't really drive because of my epilepsy. So I have to be somewhere where I can get around easy. Uber, like a subway. So New York and LA are really big cities that are easy for me to get around. Rural towns, I would love to come to you guys. Hey, so if you're going to put up a car for me, that would be fabulous. So that's a barrier. Stages that are too high, though, that's a barrier because my legs don't work as well for me anymore because of my epilepsy meds. So I need small stairs or a ramp.
Right. So do you ask for all of these environmental like setup and conditions? Do you ask beforehand?
I do. I'll just ask the club if they're ADA compliant. And if so, like, I'll just ask, like, hey, do you have this? And most of the time, most clubs I've ran into so far have been okay. I haven't had too much of an issue. And most of the time, I mean, you know who you need to work with, and you know who you don't need to work with. So
yeah,
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I assume that before agreeing to perform somewhere at a club, you have a written like agreement and contract, right?
Not necessarily. I can, as long as, so every place that has something called a booker, and you get with the booker and you audition and you send them a tape or a headshot or whatever they ask for. And if they like you, they'll put you on their show. And so, I've gone to the different clubs and the different producers, and they know who I am. And so if I want to be on a show, I just ask.
That's great. Good for you. So Safe, ask you a question. Where do you find inspiration for materials, ideas?
Oh, so my everyday life. My son is a lot of my material.
Of course.
My son roasts me on a daily basis.
That's where you got your thick skin from, right?
Yeah.
Daily torture.
Really. Seriously, because I homeschool, so we're together all the time.
I see. So Safe was commenting, stages can be horribly high in Egypt. I once tripped. Yeah, imagine that's hard.
Yeah, it is hard. And hi, Safe. Safe is another fellow comedian on the circuit from Egypt.
Hi, Safe. Now, I think that I know a lot of teens, autistic teens who wanted to venture into what you do. Mm-hmm. So based on your experiences and your journey, you're very successful today. You're very confident. Like, what would you say to a beginner?
Oh boy, I look confident. That's on the outside. Holy moly.
Oh, but you are, I mean, I look up to you because of your advocacy, and you're so open with your sharing, and but what was it like at the beginning?
So I think if you're going to get into comedy, you definitely start writing. You have that notebook, start writing, and don't write to be funny. Just write to write. Write your feelings, your thoughts, because those stories can then be turned into not only storytelling, but can then be turned, you can find the funny anywhere. I can find the funny from any place. Like I said, my stories that came from my son necessarily in the moment were not funny. Trust me. I was horribly mad.
Yeah.
But then I found the funny later. And I think the other thing is learning that not everyone is going to like you, and standing in front of a mirror, looking at yourself and being comfortable with that, and just saying, I like me, but not everyone is going to like me.
That's great. I need to do that. I don't like me. I don't like the camera. I don't like me. I just don't, well, I have a lot of fears, but I think there are many people who just like, that's what they've decided to do and they shine. That's their thing. So that's incredible. That's a good advice. Thank you.
Yeah, because it's just, especially with social media now, it's really bad out there.
Yeah, I know. So you, outside of your career, you have what it's like for you. You're a parent. You also have a lot of fur babies. So tell us about your other autistic passion and what you do outside of how do you balance work life?
Oh boy. So I live with my parents, and my mom had a liver transplant. And so we all live together to help each other, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so total, all of us, we have 8 dogs and 7 cats. And we have a literal poop schedule about who's going where and when. And it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But I love it. It's craziness. Like I said, it's crazy in a great way. Because, I have protection here. I have someone who's always with me. My dogs always are. The ones that stay with me are always looking out for me.
Yeah. That's amazing. You've got the system down. At home and when you work, you've got it.
Who says autistic people don't have executive functioning skills? Because I'm the most organized person in this house.
You have to.
Have to be.
Right? You have to. Now, like for people with sensory challenges, in order to avoid sensory burnout, I don't know if you experienced that. I mean, people have to schedule rest time. Is that like part of your daily flow or weekly flow when you have big events?
Yes, actually, that's the beauty of being a performer, is I get to make my own schedule. And so I know a lot of people out there will do like maybe 2-3 shows a night, and purposely try to do that. If I have one show, I will maybe do 2, but I will never do more than that. And I will never schedule myself more than 4 times a week. It's just, I can't, my body physically can't do more than that.
Yeah, absolutely. So aspiring performers here, you gotta pay attention to what your body's telling you, because then you think that you're not good or you fail, but it's not that. It's your body not complying because you're pushing yourself too hard. So that's what
and you feel so bad because there's an opportunity comes by and you want to say yes, you really do.
Yeah.
Tell them no. I promise the opportunities will come again.
Yes. When the timing is right, it's gonna happen, right? Timing is everything. Correct. So, well, thank you so much. Hi, Anita. Do you have any questions? Does anybody else have 1 or 2 more questions for Audra? Why polite kitty as a stage name?
Am I allowed to say that here? Because the actual story is that I was on a podcast called Dating with Disabilities. And I was actually one of the co-hosts and producers, and our guest, who was someone who was also disabled, happened to be someone who had many partners, had previous partners, just many digits. Right. And I do not have that lengthy of a history as she did. And so she said that I had the politest in all of the Pacific Northwest. Yeah. And so I will have so many cats because I have 7. So then we said I had the politest kitty in the Pacific Northwest. So
Got
that's where it came
it.
from.
That's good. That's an interesting background story.
Yes.
How you got the name.
It was one of my original jokes in my very first set.
It's you. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. And one of these days, when you have time, when I have time, I would love to do a Zoom call to see if you would actually do an online class for autistic teens who really want to do something similar like you. I think that would be really fun. You can talk about your writing. You can talk about creating all the skits. You know, that would be really fun.
Oh, absolutely. Would love to.
Thank you so much. Okay, everyone. Thank you for listening and for watching the recording later. And how can people find you on Facebook and Instagram?
Facebook and Instagram, both at @PoliteKitty_. I'm also on YouTube, and you can also find me at South Sound Improv.
How about Twitter? Are you on Twitter?
I do not do Twitter, thank you. But I'm on TikTok.
Oh, you are? What's your TikTok handle?
The at @PoliteKitty_.
Okay. I don't do TikTok. That's where I draw the line. But good for you.
Draw the line, TikTok.
You should do TikTok. You're good at it. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time, and we'll catch up another time.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Bye.